see that coyote come barreling across the open field. My scent's going right like right towards him. And he must have caught a whiff of something he didn't like. Nice little distraction. It's a little after 2 o'clock. And I have the decoy down the creek for a couple of reasons. Curly likes to cross the creek here in multiple spots, but if he crosses within 40 yards west of me and within 60, 70 yards straight east of me, he's going to see the decoy. I can grunt to him, suck him right in. If he comes down the truck trail within 50, 60 yards north of me and within 35, 40 yards south of me, coming right out of the bedding area, he can also see the decoy, so he can see it from northeast, west, or south. I have lots of trail cam pictures of him crossing the creek here. So, now, the last time I got pictures of him was on December 2nd. I checked half of my cameras, not all of them today. I got down early to do some trimming of some limbs behind me right here, pull a stand and a ground blind, and move a camera, so I was quite active this morning. Hopefully I didn't disturb it too bad. There he is right there. The food plot is right across there. There's a lot of reasons why I have this buck decoy here down the creek. Any deer coming along the truck trail is going to see it and then up and down the creek. And so the visibility at this intersection is really good. But, you know, my food plot's only 2.5 acres. Wraps around the shape of an L. And if I put a buck decoy out there, they can only see it if they're on the one side, of the L. That's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is, of course, after dark, climbing down and walking out into a food source and pulling the decoy. So by being 60, 70 yards off the downwind side of the food plot, any deer traveling to that area will see this decoy. Now they bed to the south, or the southeast, south, and south-southwest of that food plot, and then they also bed in that tall grass. So I'm downwind of where the deer both bed and feed. So, but deer come out in the food plot, they feed a little bit, and they kind of start spreading out. When they typically leave the plot, they go further west. But this is a safe place to be, and I have the right wind, so I'm downwind of the bedding and the feeding area, and I have the visual aid, the decoy. So I'd rather be in a marginal spot, still a good spot, but a marginal spot with a good wind, than right on top of good sign, right in the middle of the thick of all the activity. But either not have a good wind or not be able to get out clean. So that's why I'm sitting here. I can drop down with deer out in the food plot feeding within 60, 70 yards, climb down, walk in the creek, go further downwind, hide the decoy up on the bank, and then slip out of here with the wind at my back towards the truck. So it's a clean spot that I can get into and out of without spooking deer, and that's the key. start. Girl just stepped out. Oh shit, I'm not the other stand. Come on, buddy, come on. Got it. Well, the aggressive approach didn't work. Best bet, because the aggressive approach didn't work and you can't see my decoy, is to sneak down and slip out of here so I don't spook them. That's encounter number 4. Yeah, I'm getting closer. Well, I made it back to the truck. That was awesome. So I was watching a bunch of does. There was a group of 4 of them. They came out in the beans and fed. And eventually they got kind of skittish, sort of skittish, and turned around. They didn't stomp and snort, but they knew something wasn't quite right. And I'm like 85 yards away from these, maybe 90 yards away from these deer, across the creek. But you know, they've been pestered, they've been shot at, they've been chased by bucks and bred, and they're just on edge. They just are. So they walked back up in the hills, and about 20 minutes later they came back out, and deer number 5 was him. So that was incredible. And I grunted to him, snort wheezed to him, and I want to see if he had any aggression left in his bones. And he was all about putting the food back in his belly and replenishing some of that weight loss during the rut.
which is good because now he should be pretty relatively predictable. So that was the best footage I have of him, and the closest I've gotten to him this year while rolling the camera. I had him at 35 yards on October 27th, but that's another story. So when I realized that they weren't going to come in and he was just interested in feeding and feeding only, I decided to sneak down out of the tree and slip down the bank and grab the decoy and hide it along the creek. I was able to grab the decoy, go back up creek, upriver, and up the bank, hide the decoy, come back down, grab my bow, and sneak out. I walked about 200 yards upriver, and then came up the bank, and I was completely out of sight, and so I got out of there clean.